Yes, members of the Budget Committee, I'm Gary Schmidt, County Administrator. I'm pleased to present to you the budget for the Office of County Administration and the Board of County Commissioners. And with me today is Samara Phelps, the Executive Director of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. As you are aware, the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, due to entire loss of their funding stream, has been disbanded and is now a division of county administration beginning July 1st, 2020. So that's why Samara will help me present the county administration budget, and she'll describe the tourism portion of the county administration budget. But I'll start with the mission statement of the Office of County Administrator. It is to provide leadership and support services to the Board of County Commissioners, county departments, and the public so that they can provide and experience transparent, responsive, and effective government. I'll ask Dylan to start the slideshow, please, Dylan. You can go to the next slide, please. And now I will give a caveat. The documents you will see, it does include the tourism department as well as the county administration department. So the numbers are reflective of both departments merging into one. So especially when we get to the next slide, it is not entirely accurate of what county administration was last or the current fiscal year, because these documents are now merging two departments into one. So with that, the revenue for the Department of the Office of County Administration is primarily internal. It is general fund of 41% and allocated cost charges of 37%. And there's some interfund transfers and local grants, which is part of the tourism portion of the budget. Any expenditures, like most departments, is primarily for personnel. And this personnel amount does include the 5 county commissioners as well. So 60% of our budget is for people, and the remainder is for materials and services, and then the cost allocations we pay to other departments for the services they provide. Next slide, please, Dylan. So this was the chart I was referring to. Going back to fiscal year 17-18, those numbers now include the tourism department. So in a nutshell, county administration, like all departments, is taking a reduction in the general fund of approximately 13%, roughly $347,000. And that includes tourism, which receives a small portion of general fund, which has funded the Clackamas County Arts Alliance and the regional RAC, Regional Arts and Culture Agency. And Samara will talk to that portion when we get there. But the budget is pretty lean. I would offer to you, it's people, primarily personnel services, and then some materials and supplies. So all of the reductions you see is mostly looking at the tourism dollars that were added to the budget and the reductions that they have had to make. Next slide, please, Dylan. Again, another restatement of our budget. The County Administration Department has 3 programs, lines of business rather, the Performance Clackamas, Office of the County Administrator, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, as well as the Board of County Commissioners, and now Tourism and Cultural Affairs. And you can see again, our general fund is down almost 13%. Our entire department budget is down 45%, but again, that's including the tourism department, and that's mostly their reductions of what you're seeing in that number. Next slide, please, Dylan. So the Office of County Administrator has totally revamped our Performance Clackamas strategic goals. We basically threw out the old version and created new goals, which take effect July 1st, and as well as we support several of the Board of County Commissioners' strategic goals. And one that I listed, which is also in finance, of course, is that by 2021, 100% of the county budget will be tied to measurable results and outcomes. And I believe we're on the path to doing that. There's not much measure results to share with you. And I'll be really upfront. We really have not been tracking in county administration. And I have no excuses to offer you other than it hasn't happened. And that's going to change under my leadership. So I acknowledge it. We need to set the tone in county administration, and we haven't. But we will going forward. Next slide, please, Dylan. It should say accomplishments as the header, but some of our high-level accomplishments is, first, we supported the Board of County Commissioners in refining their Performance Clackamas strategic goals, and I'm very pleased that the commissioners agreed to narrow it down to 12 priorities they want to focus on over the next 2 years. And to support that, we've created what's called implementation teams at Clackamas County, where multiple county departments that would help support that board goal are now meeting as a team to work towards a strategy towards achieving the board's 12 priorities, and we call them implementation teams. I'm pleased to say that every single county department has now a performance Clackamas strategic plan. That was not the case last year. And I especially want to thank the 6 elected officials who lead county departments. Every single one of them now has a strategic plan. So we are 100% county departments have a strategic plan. And I thank department directors and the elected directors for helping make that happen. A really high level accomplishment in county administration is the creation of an Office of Equity and Inclusion. This will be a 3-person office based in county administration. 2 new FTEs, which really are a repurposing of 2 prior FTEs. It is budget neutral, actually is a budget savings, which I'll share with you on the next slide, as well as using 1 existing staff member for administrative support. This will really help support internally our employees as well as our community with the important values of equity, diversity, and inclusion, really on the framework that we already had in existence to strengthen our work and values in relation to EDI. We've helped implement several system and process improvements countywide, and one of them was the county policy issue we discussed earlier. We really had no coordination of county policies, none, and now we do, thanks to really our treasurer's office and internal auditor who recommended we needed to do this because we were at risk for not having a centralized location for county policies. Cindy Becker, a retired department director, came back on call temporarily to support me in county administration initiatives, and she has helped lead this effort. We now have a policy on policies. We've condensed all county policies, thousands of them, and we are really narrowing down what is a policy and what isn't. We'll have them online for the employees and the public to see, and it's really phenomenal how we're moving forward to centralize our policies, as well as doing several internal service department customer service surveys and helping to streamline our budget process efficiencies. Next slide, please, Dylan. So the cuts we made in the county administration portion is, you can see here, the elimination of 2 assistant county administrator positions, replacing them with the 2 new full-time employees to support the Office of Equity and Inclusion. There's a cost savings for that shift. Eliminated 1 vacant administrative board assistant position, decreased the Board of County Commissioners travel budget by $10,000. And there is still a vacant deputy county administrator position, and I greatly need the support. I will admit that publicly. I need the support to help lead Clackamas County. And that position has been vacant for almost a year. I am retaining the FTE, but to demonstrate I'm taking cuts just like every other county department, I'm going to keep it vacant until January, which will give those cost savings to the department. Some of our high-level issues I've already addressed, creating the Office of Equity and Inclusion. You've also already heard from Technology Services. We are moving 1 FTE, Christopher Hawkins, from Technology Services to County Administration. It is simply budget neutral. His cost is moving from Technology Services to County Administration. Chris Hawkins has done all of the performance Clackamas, data analytics, and management of our data system, which is how we track the data internally and how we post it on the web for the public to view. And since his entire work is managing for results, and since that program is coordinated in county administration, it made logistical and process sense for Chris to be located in county administration. So that will occur as of July 1st. Again, budget neutral, simply moving funds from TS to county administration. And the final significant change is the addition of tourism and cultural affairs to county administration. I will let Samara address that. So Samara, please go ahead.
So yes, as Gary outlined, due to the change in revenue from the transient room tax, as a result of COVID, we are temporarily becoming a division of administration. And also within this current fiscal year, needed to make changes to the staffing, which you see outlined there. That was 11 full-time positions and 2 part-time positions, as well as eliminating 2 vacant positions. We retained 2 positions, and then starting July 1, we become a division of the county administration. Helps us find some efficiencies there. The reason for this is that we are forecasting a revenue decline of $3.4 million due to those direct impacts of COVID. in pre-questions, committee members had asked what those priorities are for when we do have funding return. And we are very fortunate that this program continues to be guided by a well-established tourism master plan, and that the industry experts that are a part of our Tourism Development Council. All of the changes that have been made in this fiscal year and will continue in this budget represented for fiscal year 2021 prioritize the program sustainability and recovery efforts. Identified priority program areas are for recovery are leveraging partnerships. We feel it's extremely important that Clackamas County is at the table and leveraging the resources made available through local, regional, and state as well as national opportunities to bring those resources in and help support our tourism industry recover here locally. And then also paid marketing and public relations will be a priority for within this budget, as well as the capacity building to get some staff capacity back when the revenues support that. As revenues return, the council will continue to evaluate the opportunities and support the most strategic investments in support of that master plan and those strategic priorities set forth within it. Clearly, with a decline of 3.4 million, there is not an area of our budget that is not impacted by that reduction. And one of those things is our grant programs. This budget does not reflect our ability to administer any grants this year, which includes the community partnership program grants, which have been administered by the local communities. The TDC still strongly values community partnership and will continue to work with those communities to support local efforts. And more than ever, those efforts will be important for us to coordinate together, but there will not be grant programs, to answer a question that we received ahead of time. The tourism program also acts as a pass-through for general funds to the Arts Alliance. These are the only general funds in the tourism program line. And the Arts Alliance is an independent nonprofit that receives the general fund money to support contributions to the arts community. They are leveraging those dollars to invest in the Regional Arts Council, the RAC program, the Young Audiences Right Brain Initiative program, and the budget that you see here reflects a 15% cut. And when the Arts Alliance was made aware that that was going to be the recommendation, they have quickly activated to be able to resource some new funds as well as make some program changes. And they're committing that that 15% cut does not make a change to the programming for this year. So the services and the programs that are brought to our artists in Clackamas County will not be impacted by that 15% cut in their general fund contributions this year, which is great because the Regional Arts and Cultural Coalition, that council brings in $2 to the county for every dollar that we invest, as well as the Young Audience Right Brain Initiative brings in $9 for every dollar that's invested by the county. So we're really happy that we're able to continue to leverage those general fund dollars to support our youth as well as artists in the community. One of the questions that comes up when we look at how these programs outline in your budget documents is that they have personnel costs, but there's no FTE associated. And that's because the Arts Alliance does have staff. They have program staff and have actually recently hired an interim director, but none of those staff are county employees. They don't show up as FTEs in the way that we report the budgeting to you here. So the Arts Alliance does have program staff and has maintained program staff throughout this last fiscal year, but don't show up as FTE in previous or current budget numbers. And then the final thing that you see in our line item is the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program, which are those state, essentially they're looked at as state grant funds that come through to support a 4-county regional strategy. And those programs we will continue to administer, and they're fully supported through those state funds. They don't receive any of the county funds to support that role. And with that, I think that addresses the questions that we had ahead of time. I'll turn it back over to Gary.
We never saw the slide that you were talking about, though.
The only slide in the deck that references that is the significant changes slide, where we talk about the employee changes.
Okay.
the supporting documents where you see the Arts Alliance and the FTE component.
And then I'll just wrap up with the other questions asked of all departments today. How many new hires in county administration this fiscal year? The answer is 0. Is the county administration department's budget stabilized? I would say no. For the tourism division, we have no idea. That's entirely dependent on the transient room tax, and we hope that picks up, but we have no guarantee of that. And for the other part of county administration, it's entirely funded by general fund and cost allocation, and that fluctuates every year. So I do not feel that the department budget is stabilized. We have no vehicle purchases in county administration, and our cuts, again, as I mentioned, were 13% of general fund for the entire department. We do have currently 5 vacancies in county administration, one of which is being eliminated, as you see in the proposal, but the other 4 are still vacant, 2 of which are in the recruitment process. That's for the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and then 2 others which are still vacant, and for now will remain vacant at the start of the fiscal year. So I feel we're operating pretty lean to support the Board of County Commissioners and all departments. So with that, I'm happy to answer your questions, and Samara will assist me with that.
Commissioner Savas.
Yes, Gary. I want to make sure my comments are taken constructively, and so please take that as intended. Just separating out the tourism element for now, and that adjustment you're making. I have been, I shared with you many times my hope to see an organizational chart. And I think that due to the restructuring and the budgeting, particularly around what that looks like, would not only be a great visual, but help, I think, maybe a number of us, including myself, speaking for myself, try to understand how that would play out and the interactions thereof of a number of things that we are encountering. While I'm glad to see that we're leading by example and taking those cuts and not rehiring, I think that not having that organizational structure in anticipating the changes that you kind of aired past is just, I think, an important piece that ought to be in this budget document that's not there. I just want to just cite that. I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate the interim adjustment to accommodate the tremendous loss of revenue in tourism. And I think that's an efficient means of a reaction response to the situation. But I just think it's important to kind of understand what we're going to look like and how we're going to be able to manage all the needs and the changes going forward. And having, I think, and to your benefit, I think you need to have, that whether it's a deputy or it's a chief, whatever that structure is going to be, that will reduce a lot of your workload and ideally make things more effective and efficient. Just, I'll close with that. Thank you.
Mr. Feely.
Thank you. Good presentation, Gary. I just want to applaud you for your work on compilation of county policies. It's something I've been asking about for 4 years, so maybe next year I won't have to ask about it. Sounds good.
Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification. Is the money that's going to the arts, the Regional Arts Alliance or the Clackamas County Arts Alliance? Which entity is it? Is it the regional group?
Clackamas County Arts Alliance.
Thank you.
Right. I misstated that at the start. I apologize. I'm sorry. That was on me.
I see no other hands raised, Chair Parks.
Thank you. I see no other hands either. So